Part 29. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 281. Shen Fiheng couldn't help but scratch his head after hearing this. Sister, let me tell you the truth. This thing came from a wrong place. It was the one who saw it in the first place. The bracelet I gave you was exchanged for 10 pounds of white flour yesterday. My brother's one has been there in the past 2 days. Without taking action, I can't be sure now. Feng Qingxiu thought that what he said was not fishing in troubled waters when he ransacked his home, and said seriously, Brother, please ask me. If the bracelet is still there, how much food is he willing to give me in exchange? If not, I can only say that I and that bracelet has no fate. Without fate, there is really nothing we can do. Okay, I'll ask for you. Shen Fiheng didn't refuse, but you have to be mentally prepared. What preparation? Shen Fiheng smiled and said, the gold price in the bank is 5 yuan per gram. That bracelet is not light. Even if the gems are worthless, the gold alone can be sold for 100 yuan. The country is particularly willing to buy it. I will exchange the bracelet for you 10 pounds of white flour. It's because white noodles are so rare, others don't have them, and I need them urgently, otherwise I wouldn't be so cheap to you, big sister. Money is not a problem. It's not a big deal that can be solved with money. Moreover, except for the money that Lu Zhang sent to Lu's father before the meeting, Lu's father has all the money in his hands, and all the wages sent in the future are in his own hands. Before going to the battlefield, Lu Zhang sent 5,000 in one breath, and he in his hand, he had the money Lu Zhang had given him before, as well as the money he had spent selling grain. There was not much room for spending money at home, so the sum of the several sums of money amounted to 8 or 9,000, if not tens of thousands. After hearing this, Shen Fiheng nodded and said, yes, I think you are not the masters who are short of money and food, otherwise you would not be so happy. I will first ask my brother whether he wants money or food. If he wants money, you give him money. If you want food, you give me food. Sorry, brother. Shen Fiheng asked Feng Qingxiu to find a place to wait for him, and he went to find the brother with the bracelet himself. Feng Qingxiu sat on the roadside to rest, with her backpack at her feet. After waiting for a long time, Shen Fiheng didn't arrive. When she was anxious, she suddenly saw Wang Dachun coming out of the department store. Cousin, are you here to buy something? Xiaoxiu. Why haven't you gone home yet? Wang Dachun was still carrying the pole, but the things in the bamboo basket were obviously lighter. The pole did not bend, which is the biggest evidence. Feng Qingxiu whispered, I want to exchange something with someone, so I'm waiting here. I'll wait with you. I'm not worried about you alone. Wang Dachun immediately put the burden next to Feng Qingxiu, squatted down, and wiped the sweat from his forehead. His bronze face, thick eyebrows, and big eyes, and the muscles developed through farming quickly dispelled Feng Qingxiu's worries about her own safety. By the way, my 3 uncles and aunts are all very good, and they probably live up to the idiom of tutoring. The 2 brothers and sisters squatted and sat together, chatting to relieve their boredom. Isn't Jiao Jiao going out soon? I'm here to buy her something for her dowry. This is also the biggest reason why Wang Dachun appeared in the black market carrying grain. Selling some grain will make money, plus Zhang Yuejin usually saves tickets, and the money my parents received this year can prepare a very expensive dowry for Wang Xiao. Feng Qingxiu hurriedly asked, is the date set? Wang Dachun rubbed his head and said, it hasn't been decided yet. We'll decide on a specific date when the Zhang family appoints someone. I don't know what Jiao Jiao told Yuejin. Anyway, the Zhang family will appoint someone a few days before the wedding. Our family doesn't ask their family to do so. Whatever they prepare, it all depends on their wishes. When Jiao Jiao comes out of the palace, she will take it back as a dowry. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiao Bai. Chapter 282. Feng Qingxiu didn't know that the reason Wang Jiao asked Zhang Yuejin to resign was because before she got married, the Lu family gave her a bicycle and a sewing machine, which were so impressive that people were jealous. Zhang Yuejin has been working for many years and has his own salary in hand. With the financial conditions, he is willing to meet Wang Jiao's requirements. My cousin-in-law is really nice to my cousin, Feng Qingxiu said. The most important thing is that Zhang Yuejin has good intentions. I think Lu Zhang is also very kind to you. Wang Dachun smiled heartily. You and Jiao Jiao are both blessed girls. A girl's life is not about glory and wealth, but whether she lives well or not. Yuejin, although he is not as capable as Lu Zhang, our family is very satisfied with his obedience to Jiao Jiao. What kind of person is Wang Jiao? It's not like the elder brother doesn't know. He can marry a husband like Zhang Yuejin, let alone him. Even his parents said that their daughter had to cultivate blessings for 3 lifetimes to get Zhang Yuejin. Feng Qingxiu nodded in agreement. Brother is right, I think so too. It is very difficult for a woman, whether rich or poor, to have a happy marriage and make her wife happy and healthy throughout her life. Then this man must be a good man among good men. Wang Dachun thought for a while and whispered, Zioxiu, there are many people in the black market using old things or gold jewelry to exchange money for food. There are many people in the city hiding these things waiting for food to save their lives. I will use my own money today. I exchanged the 10 pounds of dried sweet potatoes for your sister-in-law with a gold fork inlaid with precious stones. I also exchanged it for Jiao Jiao with the grain my parents asked me to pick out. I also exchanged it for a gold bracelet and a dozen yuan. You are a girl, and there is no harm in girls getting themselves some gold and silver jewelry. Let's just say that there are no fools in the world. There must be many people who exchange grain for jewelry and antiques. No wonder there are always so many people in the black market exchanging gold, silver, jewelry, and old items for grain. Feng Qingxiu pursed her lips and smiled. I remember, brother. Wang Dachun chuckled and said, my father and your second and third brothers have done this too. Of course, you can only do this after ensuring that your family has enough food. No matter how good those things are, they are not as good as those caused by natural and man-made disasters. Food is important, otherwise why would those people be willing to exchange those things for food? They are all human beings and they all know that life is more valuable than gold and silver. Brother, don't worry, I know the severity. It's good that you know. We can't put the cart before the horse. As soon as Wang Dachun finished speaking, he saw a young man running towards him in a hurry. His purpose seemed to be where his brother and sister were. Zioxiu, do you know him? Feng Qingxiu looked up and saw that it was Shen Fiheng and said with a smile, I'm just waiting for him. Standing up slowly, she approached Shen Fiheng with her backpack in one hand. Brother Fiheng, are your things still there? Yes. Shen Fiheng nodded to Wang Dachun, turned sideways to avoid the eyes of passers-by, took it out of his trouser pocket and showed it to her. Sure enough, it was almost the same as the one yesterday. Then he slipped it back into his pocket and said, it's the brother of mine who asked for $5, $10 and 30 pounds of cornmeal. Feng Qingxiu was stunned and said disapprovingly, Brother Fiheng, you don't have such a big mouth, do you? You and I both understand the price of cornmeal. If it costs less than 5 yuan on the black market, you may not be able to buy it. 3, 5, 10. 5, 30 kilograms of cornmeal is worth 150 yuan. I can use 200 yuan to buy a bracelet worth more than 100 yuan. I'm full. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 283. After hearing what she said, Shen Fiheng smiled and said, listen to me, big sister. Feng Qingxiu, shut up, you say it, I'll listen. Sister, I owe you a favor. I told my brother directly that you are not someone else. You can't ask for such a high price, otherwise my face will lose its luster. Shen Fiheng also couldn't understand that this brother liked him. The lion has a big mouth, but he will not tell anyone this idea, so 30 pounds of cornmeal is the final price. 30 pounds of cornmeal is much higher than the market price, but who wants Feng Qingxiu to want it? For Lu Tianjun, the significance of this pair of bracelets is by no means comparable to that of 30 pounds of cornmeal. Deal. Feng Qingxiu took out a bag of cornmeal from her backpack. She brought only a dozen kilograms of cornmeal from home, just to cross the road. She had made a deal with the old woman earlier. However, on the way into the city, she prepared several bags of grain, including a 10-jin bag of flour, a 20-jin bag of cornmeal, and a 30-jin bag, just to facilitate the transaction. Now she took out a 10-pound bag of cornmeal. Shen Fiheng's belongings were all confiscated in the black market. He only reacted when he saw the bag of flour and scratched the back of his head. I forgot to bring something to pack. Sister, if you trust me, just give me the bag too. I'll see you another day, give it back to you. Okay. Feng Qingxiu gave him the bag and noodles, and took out 2 bunches of dragon's whisker noodles wrapped in paper from her backpack and handed them to him. In his dumbfounded eyes, Feng Qingxiu smiled and said, I'm sorry to trouble you for taking so long, brother. I'll take this noodles back to your grandmother to eat. People with bad teeth are best suited to eat this kind of food. Shen Fiheng stretched out his hand and wiped his face. Sister, I'm not polite to you anymore. If anything happens in the future, just come to me. He nodded to Wang Dachun again, carried the bag of noodles and left with dried noodles. Feng Qingxiu put away the bracelet and carried the basket on her back until she left the city and there was no one around. Then she showed it to Wang Dachun and said, yesterday Tianwan and I came to the city to grind noodles, and Tianwan accidentally recognized the man in his hand. One of his bracelets was a dowry gift from his mother. He exchanged it for the one that was in someone else's hands today. Wang Dachun looked at it twice and nodded, yes, it belongs to Tianjun's mother. I used to see her wearing it before anything happened to his family. Since it is his family's thing, you should take it back if you have the chance. This is the person you traded with. I know it too. Feng Qingxiu was surprised. Brother, do you recognize him? Shen Fiheng, didn't you notice that he nodded at me? We must know each other. Although there was no one around, Wang Dachun still lowered his voice, this kid is like a loach, slippery. You know he is. What kind of business do you do? Feng Qingxiu shook her head, I don't know, I only recognized him yesterday. If it weren't for the bracelet, I wouldn't have come to see him. Wang Dachun said, he, on the surface, is a gangster, but in fact, he is engaged in speculation. He takes money or tickets to the countryside to exchange for grain, eggs, fruits, vegetables and other things, and then sells them to people in the city. And then use the money and tickets given by the people in the city to continue to buy in the countryside. He has gathered a lot of gangsters and gangsters. Most people dare not mess with him. In addition, those in need in the city often ask him to help them. Materials, so I'll give him face in everything and won't report him. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 284. Speculation? That's a serious crime. This Shen Fiheng is really bold. If he accidentally offends someone and that person reports him, according to the current law, he will only die. Everyone knows that speculation is a serious crime. Just like us, we also know that the country strictly prohibits private transactions, but so what? We still go in and out of the black market to get what we need. Everyone wants to find a way to survive. As long as they can survive, who cares whether the way is right or not? Wang Dachun didn't think there was anything strange. People in Shen Fiheng's profession will never fail to leave a way out for themselves. How can I leave a way out in this line of work? Feng Qingxiu couldn't think of it. Wang Dachun chuckled, do you think you can just find people to do business in this industry? No, it doesn't matter if you go to the countryside to buy. No one in the countryside knows who he is, but you have to be careful about who you sell to. People have to be neighbors, so it's convenient. The transaction requires the ability to buy things and a trustworthy character. It is also a long-term confidential cooperation. You will not just sell things to strangers. If you buy something from Shen Fiheng and then report him, he will bite you back. Saying that you are buying something for a long time is his most important escape route. He must have something in his hand that can save his life and make people afraid of reporting him. After listening to this, Feng Qingxiu wondered, brother, how do you know so clearly? I also wanted to do this business before, but I didn't succeed. It's easy to buy but not easy to sell, but I know the ways inside. Wang Dachun snorted, also, this kid is not an outsider to us. Not an outsider, Feng Qingxiu said like a parrot. Wang Dachun nodded, I have an aunt, you have an aunt, have you forgotten? I didn't forget, there is a brother-in-law. Didn't he say he works in the city? I haven't seen him. As for this boy Shen Fiheng, his biological aunt is my eldest uncle's former wife. Do you understand? According to relatives, Shen Fiheng is my eldest aunt's nephew. His aunt was filling in a house, so she had to give her first wife's natal family home. People become relatives. Feng Qingxiu frowned, you mean, my aunt is not my uncle's first wife? Wang Dachun hummed, that's right. Our family is from the countryside, and we are still tenant farmers. We were not liberated at that time. Even if my aunt is handsome and pretty, and is famous all over the country, what kind of rich girl can the city people marry? Not yet. Can you like her? It's because my eldest uncle's first wife died and left 2 sons and a daughter. She also had 2 elderly people, and the family burden was heavy. She couldn't marry a well-matched city girl, so she asked a matchmaker to marry her. Auntie, if you fly up to a branch and become a phoenix, you won't recognize us as a nest of sparrows. After all, it's unbelievable that we still have such a relationship with Shen Fiheng. What's so strange? The county is only so big, and the population is so small. The result of inconvenient transportation is that married women and girls find relatives nearby so they can take care of each other. So there are people who are related to each other from all over the country. How many? This is true, Feng Qingxiu never thought that Aunt Su would be Guanzhen's aunt. It's really hard to put into words the word fate. Wang Dachun was a person who loved to talk about ancient times, so he told Feng Qingxiu all about her aunt and uncle's family situation. He didn't finish talking until he entered the Wanglu Brigade. When he met Uncle Feng and his son who were about to leave, I bought a new notebook, my dayang, and my wallet is bleeding. Oh, back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 285. Seeing Feng Qingxiu, Uncle Feng quickly explained the reason why he came to see her today without waiting for his niece to say hello. They came to give Feng Qingxiu money and the harvest from their own land. There are regulations on rations. Because Sister Feng Qingxiu's household registration has been moved to Wanglu Brigade and they have received rations here, Kahua Brigade will no longer share food with her, and all work points will be converted into money. The work value of the Kahua Brigade was only 20 cents, Feng Qingxiu only received 27.8 yuan for 1,390 work points, and Feng Qingyun had no work points. As for the money owed to Feng Qingxiu, only Feng Xuanzu and Feng Teng knew about it, and Uncle Feng was not allowed to hand it over for the time being. I have harvested a lot of vegetables from my own land, including pumpkins, winter melons, cabbage, radish, potatoes, and a few sweet potatoes that were planted while everyone turned a blind eye. Everything that should be harvested in season and dried vegetables before, Uncle Feng and his son were all sent over, and the 2 private plots of land were later taken back by the production brigade. It would be better to pick out the sweet potatoes, cabbage, and radishes stored in the cellar later. It's a pity that your 2 sisters-in-law are not fuel-efficient lamps. Your second sister-in-law complained that the private plot next to them is an eyesore. Speaking of this, Uncle Feng added, the house you live in is now divided between your second brother and your second sister-in-law, and it is paid for with food. Feng Qingxiu and Feng Qingyun had no money at first, but with everyone's consent, the house was given to them free of charge. Feng Qingyu and Li Qiuheng were not so lucky. Feng Qingxiu nodded casually. She was married to Lu Zhang, and her previous residence had nothing to do with her. Second Uncle Feng said again, I gave the money to your father-in-law. The melons and vegetables are piled up in the west room of your house. You can sort them out when you get home. Second uncle and eldest and second brother have dinner before leaving, Feng Qingxiu said hurriedly. No, Uncle Feng waved his hand, there are things going on at home and I'm very busy. I'll come and visit relatives some other time when I have time. But I have a happy event to tell you. Your second brother is getting married on October 18th. Don't forget to come and have a wedding drink. Feng Qingxiu's eyes fell on her second cousin Feng Aihua. Second brother is marrying his sister-in-law. Congratulations, congratulations. Feng Aihua chuckled, same joy. Which family is my second sister-in-law from? Feng Qingxiu asked with a smile. This question was answered by Uncle Feng. The person in charge of the village behind the mountain is 1 year younger than your second brother. After the food was divided among the former children, your eldest and second brother and I sent them 100 caddies of dried sweet potatoes and 100 caddies of corn. The marriage was settled. Feng Qingxiu hummed, food was currently the most important betrothal gift, bar none. 3 revolutions and 1 beep are too far away from the farmers to even think about it. Have you prepared the things for your second brother's wedding? Feng Qingxiu counted the money and tickets in her hands. When she got married, her second aunt gave her a quilt to cover her face, so she couldn't be stingy when her second brother got married. What are you ready for? Why don't you just get married? Just roll up the blankets and have a ceremony. Uncle Feng's bronze face smiled like a yellow flower. Our production brigade planted several acres of cotton, and our family has divided it a little, and the villagers can help a little more, enough to make a new quilt for your second brother, and then tidy up a room for him as a new house. Other people's homes were like this, and they didn't even have a new quilt on the bed, so Uncle Feng didn't think it was simple and shabby. The scene, like the marriage between Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu, was a rare sight in the first 10 to 20 years and cannot be compared. Feng Aihua, on the other hand, lagged behind his father and brother. When his father and brother were far away, he turned to look for Feng Qingxiu and said sheepishly, Xiaoxiu, let me ask you a favor. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 286. Feng Qingxiu stopped and said, Second brother, if you have any questions, just tell me. Feng Aihua scratched his head and hesitated for a long time, and finally said, do you have any old military uniforms that Lu Zhang didn't wear? Lend them to me on the day of the wedding. It would be better if you have Jifang shoes. Feng Qingxiu felt sad and funny at the same time. His words reminded me of my childhood when I heard my grandparents talk about ancient times, that is, an era when some people borrowed clothes when they got married and were reluctant to take them off when sleeping. Others borrowed a pair of Jifang shoes and had to wear them to bed, hoping to stay on their feet for a while longer. Some families even only have one outfit that they can wear when going out to visit relatives, so whoever goes out wears it. This situation is so common that no one will laugh at anyone. Although second Uncle Feng's house is better than others, the clothes are still made 3 years new, 3 years old, 3 years old, and 3 years mended. Yes, I have Ajiang's old military uniform at home. I will find it for you, clean it and iron it, and send it to you tomorrow. Feng Qingxiu thought for a moment. Jifang shoes are not breathable, and they tend to smell bad when worn. Xiaodu wears cloth shoes with milled solace, but the 3-jointed leather shoes that Ajiang bought when he got married are at home. I wonder if the second brother can wear them. Leather shoes are definitely better than Jifang shoes. Feng Aihua scratched her head and scratched her head with joy. You have to try it to know if you can wear it. Feng Qingxiu smiled. Second brother, come to my house and try. Feng Aihua agreed without saying a word, not caring about his father and brother who had walked away. When Lu's father and Wang Zhenqiu hired someone to make furniture, they considered all aspects. They built a shoe cabinet and placed it neatly behind the door of the main room. There were basins, shelves, and toiletries behind the door of the other door. Feng Qingxiu opened the shoe cabinet and took out the leather shoes she bought for Lu Zhang when she got married. They were actually boxed shoes. After getting married, Lu Zhang would wear them on his feet every time he went to the city, but he didn't take them with him when he left. After polishing his shoes, they were still as shiny as new. Oh! It's still from battling. Feng Aihua took the leather shoes and did not put them on immediately. Instead, she went out to find water to wash her feet. After washing her feet, she rubbed them with her trouser legs. When there was no water on her feet, she carefully put her leather shoes in. Her eyes were shining. Xiaoxiu, it's big a little, can be worn. If you are older, it will be fine. Just put on 2 pairs of insoles when the time comes. If 1 pair is not enough, put on 2 pairs. If you are younger, it will be in trouble. Your feet will be squeezed and it will hurt when you walk. Feng Qingxiu took a look and saw that it was more than a little bigger, at least 2 sizes too big. As long as you can wear it, Feng Qingxiu said with a smile. My second brother is getting married on the 18th, and I will go on the 17th and bring my military uniform and shoes with me. Then thank you, Xiaoxiu. Feng Aihua reluctantly took off her leather shoes and reluctantly handed them back to Feng Qingxiu. When she put on her own 1,000-layer cloth shoes with 2 big holes, her eyes were still reluctant to part with them. Leaving the leather shoes that were put in the shoe cabinet, you must remember, don't forget, it's all up to you whether I dress elegantly or not on my wedding day. Don't worry, my second brother. Feng Qingxiu opened the box while he was washing his feet and trying on shoes, took out 2 pieces of ethnic minority printed and dyed floral cloth and a pair of red pillow towels and handed them over. Second brother, you brought second aunt, I won't go there. Feng Aihua waved her hands repeatedly. How can I ask for your things? Take it. Feng Qingxiu stuffed it into his hand. When I got married, my second uncle and my second aunt didn't treat me badly. Now that you're getting married, second brother, we can naturally make it look good if we have the conditions. If anyone asks, don't say it's me. Given. After hearing this, Feng Aihua took off his gown, wrapped the flower cloth and pillow towel in it, and tucked it under his arm. Before leaving, he specifically asked Feng Qingxiu to lend him his bicycle for the wedding. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 287. October 18th is November 25th in the Gregorian calendar, and there are only a few days left before the wedding. Others still went to work, mainly transporting the manure from the cow shed to the ground and spreading it evenly. Feng Qingxiu was at home organizing the things brought by Uncle Feng. The dried vegetables continued to dry. It was time to go down to the cellar and then wash them. The military uniforms were ironed to a very smooth shape, and then they hurriedly made winter clothes for the children. She and Father Lu are adults, and their body sizes have not changed much, so they don't need to make new clothes, but the same cannot be said for children. Brothers Lu Tianwan and Feng Qingyun have grown so much that their clothes from last year are too small and their shoes can no longer be worn. Guancheng and Guanyu came to their home just this year, and they had no winter clothes at all. They were busy with the autumn harvest, and Feng Qingxiu had no time. The two brothers wore the clothes of brother Lu Tianjun last year because they were shorter. Feng Qingxiu didn't treat Guancheng and Guanyu as outsiders, nor did she plan to make new clothes for her family every year. She directly said to their brothers, Tianwan and Tianzi's clothes and shoes were made last year. You are wearing the right clothes, so I will start with them. I won't make new ones for you. And, this is good. Guanyu is young, but Guancheng is not an unscrupulous person. Although the clothes are old, there are no patches inside or outside. The autumn clothes, long johns, sweaters, and woolen trousers have been washed cleanly on the upper body and front, and the cotton clothes and trousers have also been washed. Feng Qingxiu took it apart, washed the inside, and dried the cotton inside for 2 days before sewing it. It was no different from the new one. Feng Qingxiu didn't make new clothes for her sister. She took apart the sweater and woolen trousers and added some wool to knit them again. The autumn clothes, autumn trousers, and outer trousers were directly sewn with the same fabric on the trouser leg cuffs. The same was true for the lining of the cotton clothes and trousers. Only Lu Tianjun and Lu Tianzi were actually wearing new clothes, autumn clothes, and long trousers, sweaters and woolen trousers, and cotton coats and trousers. Last year's ones were given to Guancheng and Guanyu, so they had nothing to wear and had to make new ones. However, not all the clothes of the two brothers had been replaced with new ones. The outer trousers were the same as Feng Qingyun's, with the legs and cuffs of the trousers spliced together to continue wearing them, and Lu Jiang's old military uniforms were also made smaller. Feng Qingxiu also used Lu Jiang's old military uniform to change Guancheng's clothes. As for shoes, everyone got 2 new pairs, 1 pair of single shoes and 1 pair of cotton shoes. They were not made by Feng Qingxiu, but were handmade cloth shoes that she took out from the space, which were more in line with the current characteristics. Although it was almost half a month since the beginning of winter, it was not cold enough to require wearing cotton-padded clothes. However, on the way Feng Qingxiu took her sister to the Kahua Brigade, she noticed that many people were wearing cotton-padded clothes and trousers, and were wearing separate clothes worn in spring, summer, and autumn. Pants. Feng Qingxiu pushed the bicycle with a bamboo basket hanging on the side of the back seat, while Feng Qingyun sat sideways on the back seat with her legs resting on the basket cover. Sister, it hurts my butt. Feng Qingyun wrinkled her nose. Bicycles are not that easy to sit on. She used to really want to ride a bicycle, but now she wants to get off and walk. You just sit down and you walk. How slow is that? When can we get to Kahua? Feng Qingyun pursed her lips. As soon as she entered the Kahua Brigade, Feng Qingyun jumped out of the back seat and rubbed her butt vigorously. Ma Hin, who came to greet the two sisters, smiled when she saw this. Hey, Xiaoun, come back on a bicycle, what are you doing? My butt hurts. Feng Qingyun glanced at the back seat of the bicycle. Sister, you should make a cushion and tie it to it so that my butt doesn't hurt. My brother-in-law came to pick you up before, and that's what I remember. Feng Qingxiu's response was to slap her on the head. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 288. When he arrived at Uncle Feng's house, Feng Aihua thanked him first, then unloaded the bamboo basket and pushed the bicycle away. Aihua, why are you panicking? It's not the wedding day yet. Where are you going with the cart? Ma Hin teased. Feng Aihua looked back at her. I got a bucket of water and wiped the car. As he spoke, he said heartbrokenly, Xiaoxiu, you don't take care of your car so much. How can you see your car in public if it's so dirty? How long have you been married and the car is so dirty? It's dusty and muddy, really. Ma Hin and Feng Qingxiu burst into laughter. Feng Qingyun blinked her big eyes and said, Second brother, you must ask the second aunt or the elder sister-in-law to help you make a cotton mat and tie it on your head in the back seat. If you go to pick up the second sister-in-law, Her butt will definitely hurt if she sits in the back. This is my experience. Feng Aihua laughed and scolded, "Little devil, you are the only one who talks a lot. It's not important whether you talk too much or not. What's important is that you just listen." "There's no harm." Feng Qingxiu reached out and patted the bamboo basket on the ground. "I brought Ajiang's old military uniform and leather shoes. Don't you take a look?" Feng Aihua didn't stop, and the wind brought his voice, "Take it into the house first, I will look at it later. Anyway, he has tried it all. It doesn't matter whether he looks at it or not. What's more important is the bicycle. He must clean it carefully." Ma Yan carried the bamboo basket into the main room, and Aunt Feng came out of the bedroom with the shoe mats she was making. She said sheepishly, "Look at your second brother, I didn't even know he asked you to borrow something. He only asked me to do more when he came. 2 pairs of insoles, saying the shoes are a bit too big. My family, what are you so polite about, because big weddings are rarely held in the countryside, and there are no outsiders in Uncle Feng's house." Feng Qingxiu opened the bamboo basket and took out a set of military uniforms first. When Lu Zhang brought them home, Feng Qingxiu, after removing it, he took out 3 red flowers, 1 large, 2 small, and said, "It was used when Zhang and I got married." The big red flowers were tied on the bicycle, and the small red flowers were worn on the newlyweds. Second Aunt Feng said gratefully, "Good boy, you have your heart." Ma Yan carefully touched the old military uniform, turned around and said with a smile, "Xiaoxiu, you have to be prepared." Feng Qingxiu took out the candy, bacon, and dried meat she brought and asked what was wrong. "Aihua is not bad looking. He must be full of energy and radiant in this military uniform. Tomorrow he will go to welcome his bride. Who wouldn't be jealous to see him? There are many people holding weddings in winter, and they will all ask you to borrow clothes and shoes. Keep up the facade. Not to mention getting married, I think the young man who plans to meet will have to find you." Feng Qingxiu smiled and said, "Just borrow it." She understood this behavior. Ma Yan shook her head and said, "I don't know who you followed with your generous spirit. Where did you bring so much meat?" Aunt Feng was also surprised to see the meat she took out, which was 2 dried chickens and 2 pieces of bacon, and she waved her hands in panic. "It's too heavy, it's too heavy. Xiaoxiu, you are not so generous in living at home." Feng Qingxiu took out her leather shoes and said, "This is from Comrade Lu Zhang. Tomorrow is a good day for my second brother. We have to make it presentable." After receiving things from Comrade Lu Zhang for the first time, she received 4 more packages in less than a month. Each package contained their local specialties. Without exception, she did not mention what she wanted. Qingxiu sent them food, took out the food from his own space, and sent some winter clothes according to their geographical environment. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 289. After knowing the origin of the 2 pieces of meat, Aunt Feng took it and asked Ma Yan to wash it and cook it quickly. Air-dried meat is very dry and hard, and the same goes for bacon. It needs to be cooked in advance to soften it, and then allowed to cool for easy use at the wedding banquet the next day. Cut a few radishes and put them in when cooking the meat. Aunt Feng never forgot to remind Ma Yan, "Let's eat the radishes cooked with the meat in the evening to satisfy our greed. The soup used to cook the meat is full of oil, so we can't waste it." "Okay, let's keep cooking at home." Ma Yan smiled and said, "I know, Mom, Xiaoxiu has been out there, I have experience. When Feng Qingxiu got married, she used to prepare the bacon like this, but there were no radishes at that time, so she threw in a lot of seasonal vegetables and dried vegetables." After Ma Yan went to work, Aunt Feng told Feng Qingxiu to be frugal in the future and not be so lavish. Feng Qingxiu smiled slightly and did not answer. Being generous does not mean being generous to everyone. She remembered Uncle Feng and Aunt Feng's kindness to her, and the 2 boiled eggs that Aunt Feng handed her on the morning of her wedding, and she was willing to help Feng Aihua get married. Others, except for people like Lu Jiang's comrades and Aunt Su, others don't have this kind of treatment. There is a certain amount of materials in the space, so use less. She is planning carefully now, not to mention that she sends food to Lu Jiang's comrades. In fact, the specialties they send, especially things like dried meat, can almost offset the food. Eating meat reduces the food intake at the same time. According to the amount, my family did not suffer a loss, and they had a reason to mix the materials in the space with the packages they sent and take them out openly. Some people say that 300 to 400 kilograms of rations can satisfy people, because in the 21st century, the per capita consumption of rations is only 100 to 200 kilograms per year. However, they forget that people in the 21st century can enjoy a lot of non-staple foods such as chicken, fish, meat, and eggs. These non-staple food have far more calories than staple food. And because they eat non-staple food every day, they will reduce the consumption of staple food. As for farmers now, an adult's annual ration of 300 to 400 kilograms, plus vegetables, is basically not enough to eat. A ration of 300 to 400 kilograms a year is considered a good condition, while a poor condition can even only provide about 200 kilograms of gross grain. There is not enough food to eat, and vegetables are not enough, causing everyone to look disheveled. Even if the private plot can harvest a lot of vegetables every year, eating only vegetables without staple food and non-staple food will not be able to withstand hunger. Have you not seen that many beauty lovers in the 21st century rely on fruits and vegetables to lose weight? Why? The caloric intake is low. Comrade Lu Zhang was so sincere that Feng Qingxiu couldn't help but treat them kindly. Even though the space supplies were limited, Feng Qingxiu was still very generous to them. They were really too honest. The local specialties they sent were all nutritious. I won't repeat the items sent from the northeast. Some dried lamb legs, wild rabbits, walnuts, red dates, wolfberry raisins, etc. were also sent from the northwest. They must have been squeezed out from between my own teeth or exchanged with the locals. No one can save so many supplies in one go and send them over. Feng Qingxiu did not tell the truth to second Aunt Feng, and she did not tell the truth to her family members. Lu's father, grandparents, and grandchildren only knew that Lu Jiang's comrades had sent things. They did not know what exactly they had sent. Clear. Aunt Feng said with emotion, Lu Jiang's comrades are really good. Yes, they are all good people. The living conditions were so difficult that after receiving Lu Jiang's letter, he sent the things without saying a word, just because Lu Jiang said in the letter that his wife was pregnant and wanted to get some nutritious food for her body. With the meat you gave us, we can prepare 8 bowls tomorrow, Aunt Feng was beaming. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 290. No one is ashamed of face, and everyone wants to support their own situation if they have the conditions. Feng Aihua cleaned the bicycle spotlessly, making it look exactly like new. She pushed it to her new house at night, fearing that it would be stolen outside. The next morning, she tied a big red flower on the front of the bike. It looked good no matter how it looked in the sun. Many people came to see Kikai. Even though they had met Feng Qingxiu before she got married, they still couldn't help but take a few more glances. Feng Aihua was wearing an upright old military uniform, 3-jointed leather shoes, and a small red flower on her chest. Her grinning look seemed a bit silly to Feng Qingxiu, but others said it was very silly. The spirit is very good. Okay, Aihua, you are the most beautiful groom today. Let's go, let's welcome the bride. There were not many people going to pick up the bride. Apart from the groom, there was only Feng Teng who was leading the team and a few young men. They all walked. When the young men gathered around Feng Aihua on the wedding road and gradually went away, Feng Qingxiu gently tugged on Ma Hian's coat lapel. "Sister-in-law, are you just going to go with just a few people? Don't you want to drive a mule cart?" Last night, she lived in her room with Feng Qingyun and Ma Hian, while Feng Aishong lived in the same room as her brother. After a night of getting along with each other, and the feelings that had been cultivated through previous visits, Feng Qingxiu asked directly if she had any questions. Ma Hian responded in a low voice, "My sister is here. When you went out, you took away several carts of dowry, and you thought that other girls had dowries. I didn't have any at that time, and neither did you, the second sister-in-law. The matchmaker told my parents-in-law in advance, well, your second sister-in-law doesn't have any dowry, so ask a mule cart to follow her. Who's going to look good when she comes back with nothing? Why don't you tell them to go on foot?" Feng Aihua's wife, Guan Qiuying, not only had no dowry, she didn't even have decent clothes. On such a cold day, he was wearing a pair of patched clothes and pants, his hair was sparse and yellow, his face was sallow, and he looked thin and frail. He was sitting sideways on the back seat of a bicycle, but he was wearing an old military uniform jacket and clothes. It was very big and empty, which made her feel a little uncomfortable. Feng Aihua, who was riding a bicycle, only had an old cotton-padded jacket and military trousers on her body. I privately told the young man who went to welcome the bride that when Guan Qiuying went out, she could not stop shivering from the cold, her face was blue, and she had a pair of broken straw sandals on her feet. Fortunately, the military uniform was made of woolen material, which could block the wind, otherwise the wind would fall in love. Hua was about to take off the old cotton-padded jacket and put it on for her. Aunt Feng quickly opened the box, found her old cotton-padded jacket and trousers, and asked Guan Qiuying to go inside and change into them. Seeing this, Ma Hian quickly took out her cloth shoes and gave them to her to wear. After Guan Qiuying changed her clothes, Feng Aihuake put on her military uniform again and saluted and toasted under Feng Xuanzuo's presiding. Later, after hearing people gossiping, Feng Qingxiu learned that Guan Qiuying lost her parents when she was 11 years old, but she had a younger brother and a younger sister. The younger brother was 5 years younger than her, and the younger sister was 1 year younger. Now her younger brother was 13 or 4. When she was 20 years old, her younger sister got married first, so she relented and was willing to marry, but the condition was 200 kilograms of grain, just to leave more grain for her brother after getting married. He is a good boy, hard-working, and good-tempered. His family conditions are not so good, so we don't mind him. Second Aunt Feng said to Feng Qingxiu, who was sitting in front of the stove to eat and unwilling to serve, although the second child will not be young in the future. Take care of her brother, but we don't have anything to say. Aren't you helping me and me helping you in this life? Feng Qingxiu had already noticed that if she disliked it, Uncle Feng's family would not agree to this marriage.